Okay, we're going to try this, see how it works. And I probably look a bit ridiculous, which could easily be happening. Let me make sure that this is actually focusing well. Test run. Pretty well focused. Okay. Alright, so, everybody got the email. Knows that I have to kind of make accommodations today for an interesting situation. Like I said, my mom had a mini stroke, what's called a TIA, a transient ischemic attack. And long story short, she's doing much better, but the doctor's appointment is today, and she asked that I go with her, so I'd really like to go with her. So, here I am. I'm going to record a couple of videos to kind of fill in the gaps on what we've missed or what we haven't been able to get done due to connection issues if you're on the distance learning classes, or because I have to cancel class today for you Uvalde kids. So, that's what these are going to do. And this is the first one, obviously. And I'll get it posted today. And I'll do my best to get the other two up today. If I only get the second one up today and the third one up tomorrow, then that's how it goes, obviously. So, first thing that we need to talk about, that I want to talk about, is definitely how to... I have a cat that just tried to get on the desk. Exciting. This is my office, my home office that isn't quite fully unpacked yet. Anyways, it's to talk about how you should be using your sources, and show you some pages in the book that you can look at, and run with you how to insert both sources into your paper and a works cited page at the end of your paper, to give the reader the information they need to go and find your sources. So we'll be experimenting pretty heavily here in a minute with moving the camera around to look at the chunks in the book that you need to think about. So, as we mentioned in class a couple times, sources are used in order to sort of fill in that gap between where your knowledge ends and what your paper may require. So, for example, if you think about rhetoric, we've talked about the fact that to be rhetorically successful, the reader really has to believe that you know what you're talking about and are confident in it, and if not an expert, know enough to be really saying what you're saying with any type of authority. Now, if you're writing about something that you are an expert in, obviously this is pretty easy. However, as many of you are doing, as pretty much everybody's doing, say on these kinds of argumentative papers, if you're writing about something that you're really not an expert in, then what the reader's going to ask is, well, you know, why should I trust you? How do I know that what you're saying is real, is accurate, and should be taken seriously? So, what we do is we go out and find experts or find expert data, trustworthy data, that can then back us up. Again, very similar to lawyers in a courtroom. You know, a lawyer can't say with any authority of their own that a client is insane. They're not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. But they can go and find a medical professional who's willing to throw their expert opinion, their experience and knowledge and wisdom and whatnot behind that. And so the lawyer is basically saying, look, you know, my client's not guilty. How do I know this? Well, this expert's backing me up. Now, when you get to doing research papers, and for those of you who have Comp 2 with me next semester, we'll be doing research. This becomes even bigger than it is right now. I mean, for example, when I'm talking about the argumentative paper, like I said in class, I really want you to focus on developing your own thoughts, your own ideas, basically your own reasons for a particular side or argument. But you may need to supplement those reasons. In other words, to back them up with some outside data. That data can be facts, statistics, or some sort of expert testimony. In other words, you find an expert on whatever you're talking about who has a particularly good quote or thought, then you can reference that. And what I want to talk about real quickly is how you reference that. You of course use the MLA guidelines, the Modern Language Association's guidelines. And as far as that goes, there are two components to the MLA guidelines. Alright? The first component is the in-text citation, and the second component is the works cited page. And if you look in your Ever Joyful Keys for Writers book, in the third section, the MLA documentation section, it's split into two sections according to those concepts. The in-text citations, and a citation is basically just when you give credit to who credit is due. In other words, if you introduce anything in your paper that did not come from your own mind, anything at all, that you did not know off the top of your head, and that 4 or 5 of your friends couldn't be expected to know off the top of your head. If you introduce anything along those lines, then you have to give some source for that information. And you have to give that in every sentence. And I don't care whether you're summarizing, paraphrasing, or directly quoting, it still has to have a source in each sentence. That way there's no confusion as to what is your ideas, what we should attribute to your thought processes and hard work, and what we should give to somebody else. And so when I talk about citing or doing a citation, it's just really giving credit where credit's due. So the first bit is that in-text citation. And if you look on page 165 in your handbook, it starts talking about giving the in-text citation in the paper. Now, the MLA follows what is called the author page number method of in-text citation. And it's going to look something like this. Let me come up with an example. No, I don't like that example. Hold on. Try again. Surprise, surprise. I even do that when I'm videotaping, huh? What about, let's say... Actually, you know what? I've got the book. I can show you the book. I can zoom in on the book. And you guys should have the book at home as well. So, pick this up. And for example, there we go, focus. The author of a print book, actually I guess I can turn this, named in your text. So for example, if you say this sentence, a renowned scholar of language, David Crystal, has promoted the idea of dialect democracy. So this student is directly quoting this author. And there are two parts. You see the author's name. Oops, pick this up and use my pen. See the author's name listed in the sentence, and the page number listed in parentheses at the end of the sentence. Alright? Now, the other way you could do this, let me see if I can find an example, is right here. You can, again, directly quote in the sentence itself and give the information, and at the end of the sentence, in the parentheses, just give the author's last name and the page number. This is called a parenthetical citation, as it comes in the parentheses. You don't have to give the author's full name, just their last one and the page number, if a page number is given. If no page number is given, notice, for example, here, this article is taken from an online database, then there is no page number at the end of the sentence, just the author mentioned in the sentence. Or if you just said something like, some experts question the role of an art critic if anything goes in art, then at the end of the sentence, like right here, you would just put the author's last name in parentheses before the period. This is the most basic method of the in-text citation. And I imagine that most of what you guys will be citing will be websites, newspapers, magazines, or books. So if it has a page number, make sure you give it. If it doesn't, just give the author's last name in the parentheses, or if you mention the author in the sentence, as you might find need to, make sure that you I just completely forgot what I was saying. Oh, if you mention their name in the sentence, then of course you give their full name. Now, if there's not an author given, give the title. Let's see if I can see. Is there an example? And starting on page 167, it tells you how to cite these works with individual authors, or with two authors, or with multiple authors. It has examples of how to do all these things. All right, so I really recommend looking through that, and if you have any questions or if you come across a weird situation, I'm trying to see if there's an example that I can direct you to of a work without an author. Like I said, you just give the title. Look in the bottom of page 170, and you'll see what I'm talking about there. So that's the in-text citation. And one thing that I would really point out is that when you are doing the in-text citation, you really need to make certain that you're not just baldly throwing the information out there, but you're making some sort of effort to integrate it into your overall argument, the overall flow of your paper. And so if you look at the bottom page 155 in your handbook, it talks about introducing and integrating source material. It says they shouldn't just pop up, but they should have some sort of lead-in to make them fit, pretty much, to kind of show your reader how they relate to your paper, why they're important, and exactly what you hope to do with them. So there's that. You can look there and see, and it talks about ways to introduce source material, and it's got a bunch of examples. For example, so-and-so has pointed out, so-and-so has made it clear, so-and-so explains that according to so-and-so. And you can try all of these and use them all. A lot of them are interchangeable in multiple situations. Do make sure you vary up this phrase a good bit, right? Don't just always say according to. And that's one thing I always had a pretty big problem with, is I'll say so-and-so writes or so-and-so states over and over in a paper, and I have to go back and remind myself to vary it up a little. You might also pay some attention to what's written on pages 154 and 155 in your handbook, because it talks about making sure you indicate the boundaries of a source citation and whatnot. And all that's, the pages up in front of that too are talking about offering the reader, how to use sources, how to quote and paraphrase and things like that, which I don't want to go too much in this semester, and we'll do more next semester. So that's the in-text citation method. Let me see how much time I'm at here. Okay, I'm probably going to have to post these on YouTube, so I'm going to go ahead and stop, check and make sure that one looks good, and then I'll do another 14 or 15 minute video showing you how to do the works cited page at the end. Alright, and then I have to go to San Antonio, so this evening or this afternoon when I get home, I'll do a video going over the essay, which will be kind of tricky, but there's some things I wanted to say about it, some things you should think about and notice, and whatnot. And then if I can get another video done tonight over some general pointers on the argument of essay, logical fallacies, how to avoid them, things to keep in mind, stuff like that, then we'll do that. Alright, see you in a bit.